Decided a driver's title 11 times in the past, but with Nico Rosberg on pole today, could it be about to extend the title fight in 2015?
A lot.
Hoping maybe to get it out of the way as early as he can, as the drivers then set off on the formation lap. Medium compound, hard compound. The tyre pressures have been raised, and in the words of the teams, quite drastically. Balloon-like was one comment that I heard, and I think all the drivers a little bit worried about the car grip from the tyres throughout the next 61 laps. Lights ahead of the drivers, and lights out, and away we go. Rosberg gets away cleanly. Ricciardo pulls out alongside Massa. They touch wheels as Ricciardo forces his way in. Hamilton's got the inside line into turn one. Rosberg will try and stay ahead. It's neck and neck with the Mercedes. Already going off there is Sergio Perez and the Force India. Hamilton into the lead. Rosberg's lost another place as Sebastian Vettel comes through in the Ferrari. Danny Kvyat making a move on the Mana Marussia of Alexander Rossi, who got ahead of his teammate Will Stevens off the line. But as we complete lap one, Lewis Hamilton has a 1.6 second advantage from Sebastian Vettel. Valtteri Bottas then a second further back, and Nico Rosberg half a second down on Bottas. Then comes Raikkonen, Grosjean and Maldonado, the two Lotus, going into turn one together. Rosberg, a disastrous start, and it's getting a little bit worse for him, because he's now lost half a second to Valtteri Bottas on that previous lap. Needs to try and get past that Williams as soon as he possibly can. Started on pole, seemed to get away well, but then in the second stage, Hamilton overhauled him and had the inside line into turn one.
And Button doing good lap times on those hard tyres too. Right, what's going on? Make it back to the second corner. Here we go. And that is Massa coming across to cover off us above Ricciardo there, and two instant punctures.
Massa came across to try and cover, but the horse had already bolted.
Yeah.
He was too late on that one.
Yeah, he was a little bit too late, you're right. But I wonder why they're puncturing normally, especially the
speed traps, than the four Renault-powered cars this weekend, up until this moment. And Fernando Alonso being passed by the Toro Rosso there, that was a super move.
Yeah, as I said, young Sainz grew up with Alonso as his hero, and there he is, sweeping around the outside of turn one. And that's a challenging corner to do all by yourself. Good stuff. So
very embarrassing. Very public.
Yeah, he's a big cycling fan, Fernando Alonso, and that's the sort of thing that would have him on his bike in a heartbeat, to be honest, and pass so easily as well. He looked, he knew what was coming, Martin, and then realised that he had absolutely no defence.
No, and the crazy thing is, they'll probably be the first drivers being told to save fuel.
With Max Verstappen going into turn one.
What Jenson Button is telling him, because he's lapping at the same speed as Alonso, despite the hard compound tyres against the medium, he's telling the whole field the hards are working quite well, actually, better than perhaps anticipated.
Track temperature 40 degrees, which is way higher than we've experienced so far this week. Long second stint.
It's costing Verstappen a lot of lap time. You can see even through 130R where he's making time, he would simply take off if he could get through. He's half a minute behind the leaders now.
Just closing up in the background a little bit, Jenson Button, you can see there, he's a couple of tenths of a second ahead of Verstappen on time, half a second slower than Rosberg on his previous lap.
That's two changes to his steering wheel as he approached 130R. The workload in the cockpit is just immense, and they're so effective, all those toys as well. They're so powerful.
Little different, isn't it, to when Kimi Raikkonen won from 17th on the grid here 10 years ago. Two Saubers side by
first.
Well,
what are Mercedes going to do now?
Well, maybe they can go a little bit longer. We shall see.
Probably their only opportunity.
Out comes Grosjean into 10th place. Hulkenberg going past him in 9th. Hulkenberg has pitted as well, so the undercuts work there for Hulkenberg, who's got ahead of Grosjean in that first set of pit stops. And we're seeing Danny Kvyat. He's not pitted yet. I think he will want to as soon as he possibly can. And now, hard compound tyres going on to the Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel, coming down the pit lane now and doing something a little different, Martin, to those around him.
It gives Hamilton all the information he needs, and Rosberg.
Behind them, Nasser and Ericsson are having a good old scrap as well going into turn one. I think Marcus Ericsson might just have got ahead of Felipe Nasser. He has.
So box.
and this is a more regular two-stop than you would imagine for Nico Rosberg in terms of when he's coming in, Martin. But as Ted was saying, medium for the second stint. Hamilton goes onto the medium tyre, and the gap between Hamilton and Vettel still as wide as it ever was when the pit stops started to unfold. All looking very nice if you're the championship leader, Lewis Hamilton, out there at the moment. Decent enough gap to Sebastian Vettel, and now Bottas.
Do not use the overtake button for reliability.
You'll blow it to bits.
Yeah. So he wants to get ahead of Alonso, obviously. Needs to defend from Verstappen, who's going to keep getting a bit of DRS usage. And he's stuck with one hand behind his back. This is into 130R.
Spinning his wheels up there on the exit. That's where he broke down yesterday and got a penalty for parking the car on the right hand side of the track when he came from the left with no engine.
As I said, his last race as a 17-year-old, so technically he can go and get a podium and drink some champagne.
Expected places. It's not a brake light. We don't have brake lights.
So into the second of the Degners we go, past where Danny Kvyat had his big accident in qualifying yesterday, past where Verstappen had to pull over when his car was stuck in gear and lost all power in qualifying yesterday. And Verstappen's here the last lap, and that famous win from 17th on the grid here 10 years ago. How time flies.
Vettel's been on the radio. Rosberg is coming. Should I race him hard? We should keep him 2 seconds behind, was the response. It's down to 1.9.
It's going to be a bit tricky.
Many of them say you spin them up once and they're gone, but Verstappen seems to be able to nurse them along.
Button and Ericsson. DRS for Marcus Ericsson. Had a little look on Jenson Button. No way through, but he's there, and if he's a little bit closer on the next lap, Button's got to watch out just a touch more. Ted, down to you.
So
oh, hang on, Ted, sorry.
No brakes in third level.
Okay, Danny, we have a split on the...
Although actually, it's not, is it? Mexico's North America.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
When we go off to Mexico City, that's how he did it. Just pulled out from underneath the rear wing and was way ahead by the time they got into turn one. Gap out in front, certainly helping Jenson Button stay in touch. Kimi Räikkönen still within 0.7 of a second of Valtteri Bottas in fourth.
This is a very good pace. You can keep it there. You're doing a strong job, very good job.
He's now his contract, and how many pages concentrate on not saying anything against your employer?
Yeah, he's so frustrated, isn't he?
He is. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, I mean, he always drives like his trousers are on fire, to borrow a phrase from someone we all know well, but that's saying something even for Fernando. And I'm looking across to the McLaren Honda
in a difficult place. You can't send a man out there to get that.
It's still there on the track. You can see it there, and whilst it's not technically on the racing line, it isn't far off it, to be fair. Now, and it's not also in a position, Martin, where I'd want to be a marshal to run onto the track and retrieve it.
No, because you're right, it's just off.
Not a man known to be grinning much in his life. You've now got a very broad smile on your face.
Yeah, although he has got Grosjean ahead of him to pass. But let's see how quickly Bottas can dispose of the Lotus, which we last pitted on lap 12.
He's not going to want to stay behind him, obviously, for very long, and into the hairpin he pitted.
Ferrari have been the pit stop stars today.
And Rosberg setting a fastest lap of the race on the hard compound tyre, which his teammate Lewis Hamilton is now running as well, because he had to. He'd run the mediums for the first two stints.
So they can get to the end on those without any difficulty, I'd imagine. As long as they don't blister them up, we haven't seen this. Interesting to see the Lotus still easy on its tyres on a difficult day with not much setup time. Grosjean Maldonado currently running 6th and 7th. They've got to take their stop yet.
Checo, you can use everything from the tyre. 4 or 5 laps, use everything from the tyre.
Full beans.
Yeah.
So teammate against teammate.
And Grosjean pitting. Will Stevens pitting too. And puts him 20th and last in this race. We haven't had a single retiree from this race.
Look after this set.
9.5 seconds his lead out in front. At least they all know who's what's going on with the man chasing them at Mercedes. It was Sebastian Vettel before the last round of pit stops. Now
That's
Rosberg.
right.
Will Stevens, just to let you know, onto the pack. He's down in 11th at the moment. On go the tyres. Fernando Alonso is coming down the main straight past our commentary box with a couple of the laps. Marussia's, Ericsson and Button as well. A whole gaggle of cars. Haven't really managed to get Perez out into a gap there at all. And past goes the race second. Fernando Alonso know all about him. So we were teammates once upon a time. And after that, the man of Marussia of Alexander Rossi. And out in front, just to let you know, 14 laps to go here. The gap between Rosberg and Vettel is now 1.8 seconds.
That'll please him.
This is the battle for 12th. This is certainly where the close action is on the circuit. I wonder if Rosberg, just the traffic causing him problem. It is. He's cleared Ricciardo and he's cleared Alex Rossi as well. Been lapped. Behind them comes this battle then. Ericsson from Perez. Rosberg's pulled out a couple of tenths on Vettel in the opening part of this lap and 2 more tenths on the middle part of this lap as well, getting himself out of a little spot of bother that he was facing, but getting ever closer to the next group of back markers that he's going to have to overtake. Of 2, Rosberg's further ahead from Vettel on that lap.
Ericsson is moving under braking.
Understood. Ericsson is moving under braking.
Little email there to Charlie Whiting.
Well, was he was that into Spoon or was that into the chicane? Look, there's Danny Kvyat trying to have a pop into the S's. That was opportune. See, look, we let you past. We didn't hold you up at all. Give us an engine, please. As now goes Perez once again into turn 1, trying to get past Marcus Ericsson. He can try as much as he wants, but he's just not making the impression that he would like. Rosberg says, thank you very much, you've gone a bit wide, so now keep out of the way, I'm coming through. The man in second place. And Sebastian Vettel had actually closed once again through the S's, having a little look at Sergio Perez. That's obviously where the Red Bull's at its strongest, and the Force India in the battle with it is at its most vulnerable. Perez wanted to get past Ericsson, obviously, but he does have to just pay attention and watch out a little bit here.
Great drive from Hulkenberg today, up in P6.
Absolutely.
Dietrich Mateschitz, the boss of Red Bull, going, if I can't have a top engine, I'm going. I'm going to take my ball away. Don't know quite how that's going to be resolved yet.
Well, it's his only standpoint, isn't it? He hasn't got a position of strength, Dietrich Mateschitz, because the relationship with Renault has gone so badly, other than to say, well, we're going to start making our own engines, and that's very costly.
Mercedes don't like the way that Red Bull have been so negative about their partner Renault.
A 3-way title fight, won't it, with 5 races remaining. Hamilton, Rosberg and Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton at the moment, as we continue to watch this absorbing scrap between Ericsson and Perez and Kvyat. Hamilton's lead. Kimi Raikkonen, ladies and gentlemen, as Kvyat manages to get out of Raikkonen's way. And he's now starting to pick his way through the back markers, which means Valtteri Bottas is going to have to do the same thing in a few moments. His teammates already let him past, and this is how Sergio Perez finally did get past.
He got his right rear wheel, Ericsson, on the AstroTurf. Had a bit of a wobble, and that was...
Because he stopped all the guys who were on 3 stops, actually chasing after the McLaren with a poor car and an even more angry driver. But Alonso, 11th. You never know, if somebody drops out in the last lap, he could even score a point on a day where he's been so vocal against his own team. But I think they're chasing Alonso down now, are they? Can you tell from the timing screens? But they'll run out of laps.
Nico Rosberg had it all in the palm of his hand, starting from pole, but once again finishes behind his teammate at second place for Rosberg. It's third place for Sebastian Vettel, who keeps up his great run of podiums here. It's an 8-1-2 finish of the season for Mercedes-Benz. For Ferrari, it's 3 and it's 4, and the horrors of for the second year in succession here at Suzuka.
Yeah, Rosberg pitted on lap 29. Vettel a lap later on 30, and that was what made the difference.
Marcus Ericsson eventually finishes 14th, and yeah, he did hold up Sergio Perez and Danny Kvyat.